In the brutal podcast system, any jackass with a microphone and internet connection can pose as an expert on any topic under the sun. Fortunately, however, there exists a humble duo of said jackasses who at least aspire to minimize the effects of the current egregious level of aforementioned fake-ass horseshit and those who perpetrate it. This duo attempts this very noble task by allowing you, the listener, to have total unimpeded access to the real minutia of their pathetic everyday lives. This two-member task force is known deep within the podcast world as Zero Front. These are their stories.
Welcome into another edition of Zero Front. Tonight, I am not joined by Joey Thurman. Joey Thurman has resigned from the show. We had some differences in terms of how we wanted to run the show, how we wanted things to go. Joe's an older guy, like he's like almost 30 years older than me. And the show was just kind of more like a hobby for him. And it just wasn't matching, what he wanted to do with his life right now. And it was one of those things. We just had some differences. I mean, we just had some disagreements over some things. I guess there started to be some issues popping up that I wasn't really aware of. Someone in my crypto group gave the show a really nice compliment and complimented on last episode how Joe was telling a story and I chimed in and said I was in the bathroom the whole time. I didn't hear a word he said. So the guy thought that was really funny. A couple of other things were funny. I guess Joe didn't think it was that funny. And I think he thought that I told my friend in the crypto group to say, to make me look good by giving a compliment to the show. And I would never do that. It's against my whole character and integrity. So Joe thought that I was trying to one up him. And it was really upsetting to me. It was just someone complimented the show. I told Joe about it, and there seemed to be an argument that it was created off that based off misunderstanding. So it wasn't just that though. Joe, like I said, Joe's an older dude. The show is a hobby and he didn't really want to do it anymore. We were only doing it about once a month at this point. When we started doing it, we were doing it 2 times a week. And that was leading to some arguments and things like that. And there's too much. And so, we almost didn't do it season 2. And then we did a season 2. We changed it in the Zero Front. And then Joe said, just take it season by season. I thought this was a long-term thing with me and Joe. He just ordered business cards. So I was all excited about the business cards, but it just didn't work out creatively. He made a comment to me. He says, I've got too much swagger lately. But I don't know what that means. I mean, I'm a confident guy, but that type of thing. But if I got too much swagger on the show, if I'm not able to be myself in the show, creatively, it's just not going to work. If I have to hold back and I can't really talk about what I want to talk about in the show, if that equates to Joe as too much swagger, I mean, let's just be clear. Joe and I are still friends. We're still very good friends. It's just that the show kind of when you're in a business and personal relationship with somebody, when you have a good friendship and then you also have a business relationship, it's not easy to describe, but I guess some things could just cause some distress in the friendship and the show, I guess. And like I said, Joe was just, it was causing too much stress in Joe's life, the show. So, but no, Joe's a great guy. He was an excellent co-host. I'm glad to have had him on the show for about 60 episodes. I couldn't ask for a better co-host, honestly. He's got the deep radio voice. He's got the great personality. But it was just, I'm upset, obviously. I didn't plan on going air. Me and Joe planned on doing a show tomorrow and we got tons of topics lined up, but things just changed. Things shifted quickly. So that's that. I wish Joe the best. He's still one of my good friends and just no longer on Zero Front, but I thank him for all his contributions to the show. And yeah. But I want to talk about a couple of things. Well, a lot of things actually. something crazy just happened in the world. I mean, the former president, was he the 45th president? We could call him 45, right? Um, he was just almost assassinated. And to me, it's such an interesting topic. This is one thing about doing, I might find a co-host, I might not, but I'm going to start doing, more topics that I want to do. And Joe never wanted to get political. And I'm not going to really get political, but I'm going to bring up some politics and just have a little opinion on it because I'm more in the center politically. Um, I'm more in the center, and I lean left because there's certain issues on the right that I just don't agree with. When it comes to certain things, um, like women's rights, abortions, the environment, um, gay rights, sort of things that like people thinks they have control over other people, and there's certain things where I don't know. I feel like both sides get crazy. Let's put it that way. But I'm saying there's certain things I disagree with on both sides, but I lean more left. But anyway, I don't want any, president to get assassinated or anybody important to get killed. And to see, President Trump, the former president, almost get shot was just like, I don't care what side you're on. You shouldn't be rooting for that to happen. And it's, it was huge news. And by him using a teleprompter, not teleprompter, he was doing some like PowerPoint presentation, which he like apparently says he never does. And he turned his head at that exact moment, and the bullet just like grazed his ear, I guess. And then he gets up a couple minutes later and is putting his fist up in the air and saying, "Fight, fight, fight." Um, so the whole thing was crazy, and the image is, it's iconic. It's going to be around forever. Um, and I've just, it's crazy to think that the Secret Service. I heard tonight. Someone was telling me that the Secret Service lady resigned because there's more to it. I mean, to for that vantage point to be there with a direct line to the president and be able to almost kill him. Because you start thinking about the logistics, it's like, how did he get the ladder? You know what I mean? How did he get the ladder to, like, how did he get up in the building? I'm assuming he used the ladder, and then like he had to bring. He was a smaller guy, but he would have had to bring the ladder with him and climb up on the roof. Um, so to me, it was just a real big vulnerability and security that happened. Um, the guy almost, assassinated a president, and he's not really a professional. He's just some amateur. He's a 20-year-old kid. And I don't really want to go into his history. I mean, apparently he was a registered Republican, but who knows? Apparently his parents are Trumpers. Apparently he was bullied in school. Apparently he wasn't good enough for the shooting club. There's all these things that are circulating, but it's insane to me that he was almost able to assassinate a president in such a big event with police and Secret Service and other forms of security. So I thought that was very fascinating in terms of current events. Um, whether you like Trump or not, I am happy that he survived because I think I think honestly, creating a martyr out of Trump would not be a good thing. It would only cause more distress amongst people and more drama, and not a civil war. I don't think we'll ever get to a point of civil war, but there will be like more instances of violence happening and more like hate crimes. So I think it's like a real positive thing that he actually survived. Whether or not he gets elected again as president, who knows? Biden just dropped out. Um, I thought Biden was doing an okay job. I don't really have anything against, President Biden, but he's getting old, and I guess he didn't do good in the debate, and the optics are bad. So I guess he dropped out. But, you know, Kamala Harris is the candidate currently, but who knows what's going to happen? I guess she has to get enough delegate votes, but this is not a political show. I just wanted to speak up on some political things that are going on and give my opinion on it. Like I said, I'm more center. I'm more of like an independent, but I lean left. Um, have never really been, um, I guess it depends on the president and stuff, at Villanova, I was in the college Democrats, and I was a big Obama supporter. Um, but then I graduated from college, and you start paying taxes and you start doing these things and living in the real world. So your opinions can start shifting a little bit, but I'm still center. I'm still leaning left, but again, it's not a political show. I have so many other topics I want to talk about. A funny story that just happened. Actually, I was at, my best friend's in-laws house for his son's birthday party. And I haven't been in the pool in years. Like, this is the first time I went in the pool in like a really long time. And you know, playing with a rubber basketball in the pool. There's a basketball hoop, but we weren't shooting at the hoop because my friend's mother-in-law and her sister were like under the hoop talking. Like there's people all on the pool, and like you can't just like shoot the ball up at the hoop. And I'll tell you what happened. But anyway, having a good time in the pool. Spin the basketball around, just throwing up in the air, that type of thing, just hanging out in the pool. And then my friend's son comes up to me and he asks for the ball, so I give him the ball. And as I'm saying to his son, be careful, he throws the ball up at the hoop, and the ball bounces off the rim of the basketball hoop and hits my friend's mother-in-law's sister. I think it's her sister. She was like a really close family member. It hits her right in the head, like it nails her in the head. And she's like, I'm like, oh my God. And I'm like trying to tell my friend, I'm like, oh my God, like I gave him the ball and he shot up at the hoop. And he's like, he's telling his son to apologize and stuff, but I don't know if the lady knew what happened. So I think the thing was she thought that I like hit her with the ball. You know what I mean? Like whether it was accidental or on purpose, but my friend was cracking up and like he didn't tell her for a couple hours. For a couple hours, she kept looking over me. She got out of the pool. She was giving me like dirty looks. And I think she thought I actually threw the ball. And it was like, no, I didn't do that at all. I'm like, this is not me. And so I was in a very awkward position for a couple hours. Um, and it was just one of those, it's like my friends, tell me it's Costanza like, it's Seinfeld like, it's Larry David like, where there's a big misunderstanding and you're in the middle of it. So I'm at like, I don't know a lot of the people there. It's my friend's in-laws house in New Jersey. And I'm trying to buy a bunch of people I don't know. So a bunch of people I don't know are looking at me like I threw a ball at a lady's head. And it was just the whole thing. But it was it was one of those things where it was just a misunderstanding. But that's the stuff that like is on Seinfeld and shows like that. Misunderstandings and stupid things that happen. You know what I mean? I was telling my friend, I was like, tell her that I didn't throw the ball. You know what I mean? But I also don't want to blame his son. So I was in an awkward position, but it turned out okay. They ended up telling her what happened and stuff. And my friend was even messing with me. Like the next day, he's like, yeah, she was throwing up. She was throwing up the next day because she got hit in the head with the ball and stuff. And then finally he told me, he's like, no, she wasn't. I was joking around. Like I told her it wasn't you, but yeah. Another thing that recently I've been paying attention to, the World Series of Poker. So the World Series of Poker was on, um, and I love poker. I think it's a form. The people might not think it's a sport, but it really is kind of a sport. It's based on talent. It's based on skill. It's based on intuition. It's based on, you're doing the odds in your mind. And I felt like this year's World Series of Poker was kind of tainted. This guy, Jonathan Tamayo, won the tournament, but he kind of cheated. Like he didn't cheat by the rules exactly, but he kind of cheated because when you make the final table, you're allowed to have a rail. The rail is like this, it's like equivalent to like going to a sporting event in the crowd. So the crowd at a sporting event will be called the rail. So if you make the final table at a poker tournament, they call it the rail. And he had his people in his crowd cheering for him, but other people had their people cheering for them. But he had one of his coaches and one of his poker coaches with a laptop. And in between each hand, he was going up to his poker coach, and his poker coach was typing things into the computer and computer software, a thing to calculate odds like a computer. Like if you're playing a computer in chess or poker or whatever, and you're going against a computer, you're going against a computer. So this is what he was doing. He was basically turning into a computer by putting in odds and using, having a coach there. Whereas the other guy, this guy Jordan Griff, he's just some recreational player. He's not a professional. So this guy Tamayo's a professional. This other guy Jordan Griff, not a professional. And this guy Tamayo has people coaching him during the tournament and giving him live readings from computer data. Where other guys is just using his intuition and his poker skills and his ability. And sure enough, the other guy that was using the computer and the poker coach won the tournament. He won $10 million. And it's a big controversy. It's like they should ban that. In poker, there should be no laptops allowed at the rail, which is the crowd. You should have no one assisting you from outside. It should be all your skills. And I thought it was just very upsetting. Like I spent like a good amount of time watching that tournament, and to see it end by some guy, using a laptop to me, it was very upsetting. Um, it was one of those things where it took away from the integrity of the sport, integrity of poker. Um, Because I know you say other sports, like the football coach is giving plays, but that's other sports. That's how they operate. They call plays in football. But like say like in soccer, for example, that's a team sport. In baseball, yeah, you have the pitcher coach can go to the mound and give you some advice, but they're not controlling your pitching. They're giving you some pointers. This is poker where you're using odds and numbers and all calculating all sorts of things. So if someone's giving you direct data like a computer, it's going to give you a higher advantage. So I thought that was really, I didn't like that. Um, and then I got a couple movie reviews. I still have the movie subscription, so I'm seeing almost everything that comes out in theaters. I'm going to the movies and I'm seeing a movie, so I really enjoy that. But I saw this movie starring Nicolas Cage and a couple other people um, that are not too well known if you just say their name, but they're up and coming. They're definitely big time in Hollywood. But it's called Longlegs. It's a thriller. And it's kind of like a satanic theme and it's kind of culty and it's kind of like supernatural, but it kind of has a Silence of the Lambs feel. I thought it was good. It's got a lot of hype around it. Like it's doing really well in the box office and like people are very scared. Like they're spooked out because Nicolas Cage kind of plays a satanic, like serial killer type of guy. Like if you see the movie, you'll see it, but I recommend it. It's a good movie, but I wouldn't say it was like amazing. I would give it like a strong 7.5. Long legs, but if you like Silence of the Lambs, you like certain thrillers and don't mind satanic themes, I recommend it. I mean, I thought it was a watchable movie for sure. Then I saw the new Twister movie. It's based off the 90s movie Twister, called Twisters. Um, and Glenn Powell's in it. Glenn Powell is one of the most up and coming Hollywood guys there is. He starred in Top Gun. He's been in all these different. He was just in a Sweeney rom com. He's one of those. You see him everywhere now. He's one of the biggest names in Hollywood now. I thought his performance in the movie was good, and I thought the movie was okay. I thought the special effects were cool, but to me, it was like watching like tornadoes. People chase tornadoes, and like people tragically in the course of chasing the tornadoes, people will tragically die. People, and I thought people watching people die by way of tornado for like almost 2 hours was kind of like it was entertaining, but it was depressing too. You know what I mean? It's not like seeing a horror movie where like the killer is like killing people. It's like you kind of suspend belief and like, yeah, I'm watching a horror movie. People are going to die like tragically, but this was like watching like a natural disaster, watching hurricanes or tornadoes kill people. And like, I'm not saying it was a bad movie, but I would give it like a 6.4. Um, it's a big blockbuster and stuff, but I'd recommend Long Legs over Twisters for sure. Um, and then, a couple other things have been going on. Things I want to talk about, like just observations that like I think about sometimes. Like, when you're scrolling on your phone and, say you're on like Instagram and you're just going through like, people, whatever people post, people you follow. And then by accident, you hit the top of the screen. I think this is on Androids too, but it does it on, I have an iPhone and you accidentally hit the top of the screen and it scrolls all the way back up and you lose your place and you can't go back to where you were. That's one of my pet peeves. Um, that's one of the most annoying things when I'm on the phone. I'll be just like mindlessly scrolling social media and then I'll hit the top of the screen by accident. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you don't know what I'm talking about, but I think some people, they definitely, you know what I mean? You hit the top of the screen, it brings you all the way back to where this happens on Facebook too, I think too. It happens on a lot of apps. Because it's supposed to be a shortcut to like hypothetically and theoretically bring you back to the top of the screen when you want to go back to the top of the screen. But this like ruins it's like you're reading a book and then you don't have you don't know what page you're on. And then you lose your page and then you don't know where you were. It's kind of like that type of thing. Um, but it's funny. I see a lot of things online um about like they give you a scenario. It's like, um would you rather date like, like this famous actress? Um Lately people have been doing Angel Reese. She's a WNBA player, but like would you rather just plug in any girl or or if you're from a girl's perspective, any guy, but they say, would you rather take $500,000 or date this girl? And I'm always thinking to myself, this is the dumbest thing ever because it's like, of course I'm taking the money. You know what I mean? Yes, it would be cool to go on a date with a celebrity or someone really you find really attractive, but are you really going to take $1 million? Are you really not going to take $1 million or a ton of money over going? So I see this online all the time. It's like, would you rather, be a millionaire or spend 1 hour with this person? It's like, well, of course I'm taking the money. Um, and that seems to be like a big thing. Um, it's like a meme, but it's like really annoying. It's like, unless you're a simp is kind of a term for certain people, SIMP, a simp. Unless you're like a simp who like, he just, if you look at, I guess you do Urban Dictionary for that. I don't want to explain what a simp is, but if you're like a type of person, like you'd rather spend an hour with, you know what I mean? Than, or it's like they say, it doesn't have to be like romantic or sexual. It's like, would you rather spend an hour with your hero or take the money? It's like, well, of course I'm taking the money. I'm not gonna, it's gonna be cool to spend an hour with like one of your heroes and talk to them and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, the money is the money. And I can see this if you're already a billionaire. Like if you're already a billionaire and like you're saying you don't want to take the money, um, and you rather like spend that time with that famous, like, like if you could bring like Abraham Lincoln back to life and spend an hour with Abraham Lincoln or Jesus Christ. So Jesus Christ is one I have to think about. So if somebody says like, you could, because some people don't even believe in Jesus, and that's fine. Everyone has their own beliefs. Um, it's logical not to believe, obviously, because it's like, you know, this guy had superpowers and this and that, and he was resurrected. So, but no, I'm Catholic and I do believe in Jesus, but I never get in arguments because it's logical not to believe too. But if somebody said that you can talk to Jesus Christ for an hour, or you can take the money. I don't know. That's still a tough one. See, I feel if Jesus Christ is looking down and they're sitting there like, oh, you better want to talk to me instead of taking that money. That's not. I feel like I'm gonna get cursed. But no, it's just one of the things I see online that's kind of annoying. Um, but anyway, I want to bring back a segment that Joe and I did a lot, the lyrics. And the following lyrics are: give me the eyes that I may see, the good in my people and the trouble in me. Give me the hands that I may lift, the weight of another who's starting to drift. And those are lyrics from the Killers. The song's called Running Towards a Place. It's from their 2020 album, Imploding the Mirage. And it's been one of my most played songs recently. I love this song. I think it's such a positive song. It's about like working together with people and being as a common man, and you're running towards a place. It doesn't matter if it's literal or theoretical, whether it be towards retirement, whether it be towards getting married eventually. You're running towards a place. And the lyrics that I chose are the opening to the song. So it's like, it's like you're asking God or something. It's like, give me the eyes that I may see, the good in my people and the trouble in me. Um, so it's like, give me some vision so I can see. Let me see the good in my people. And also let me see the trouble in me, because everyone has some trouble in them. And if you're giving me the ability to not be delusional and to not be like so blind to my own faults. So give me the good, see the good in my people and the trouble in me. Give me the hands that I might lift. So you're giving me the vision, you're giving me the eyes, and it's almost like God's talking to you. The weight of another who's starting to drift. So let me see the weight of another who's starting to. So if anybody in your life is starting to drift, you sense them starting to drift, give me the strength so I may recognize that they're starting to drift, and give me the strength to help them out. So I think it's a very positive song. It's by one of my favorite bands. I love the Killers. They're honestly my favorite band. I think Brandon Flowers, he's got one of the best voices, one of the best frontmen in music. I hope to have some of them on my show one day. It's honestly, I love to have one of them on the show. Because I want to start doing this. One of the things I'm going to say about the show, I'm going to start doing more interviews. I'm going to start having guests on and interviewing people. So I think that's going to be pretty cool. But I also want to talk about, the lyrics are cool, but it's from the album, the 2020 album, Imploding the Mirage. And I want to talk a little bit about their album cover. The album cover, I have a t-shirt with this album cover on it, but I never knew this. It's actually based on a painting by this guy named Thomas Blackshear II. It's called Dance of the Wind and the Storm. It's a very cool image. And if you can look it up, the Killers Imploding the Mirage album or this guy's artwork, but it's kind of like the clouds with like a rainbow in the sky and like mountains in the distance. And it's like the vision of like a picture of like a woman and a man in the sky holding hands. And like, it's like they're like it's like they're in heaven and they're going towards something and they're looking down on Earth and Earth looks so pretty. And like, I just think it's a great album cover. And even Brandon Flowers said, the lead singer of the Killers, when they were making that album, um, he used that painting as inspiration. I just learned that because when I'm like, I love this album cover. I have it on a t-shirt. I got the t-shirt at, the first time I saw them in Philadelphia, the Killers, and I bought that t-shirt that night. It's one of my favorite t-shirts that I wear. You can see it on my social media, on my account, in a couple of Killers concerts I'm at. I'm wearing that t-shirt, but it has that photo, that painting. I think it's a beautiful painting. I think it's great. Um, you know, Another story I saw recently that's pretty cool. I don't know. People might think it's disgusting, but it's this man found a mouse. He claims it was outside of his workplace and he found a little tiny mouse. And it was like a little baby. And instead of just like, I guess putting it in the woods or bringing it to, I don't know where you bring a little mouse. I'm not sure. Most people kill mice. To be honest with you, I've never killed a mouse, but most people would just like stomp on a mouse. It's sad. People think mice are like bugs. See, I have a kind of a different, once you see them, I don't know, especially when you hear the story. But anyway, he found this little mouse and he uh he started raising it on his own, like it's a little pet. And he's got an Instagram account. I think it's called Molly Bean or something like that. And the mouse like lives like he brought other I think he brought other mouse so it has friends to play with. I'm not sure what he did, but the mouse is like he brings it out places and the mouse like runs around under his shirt and stuff and like hangs out on him. It sounds kind of disgusting, like a mouse running around. I get it. Now I'm talking about it, yeah, it sounds kind of disgusting, but I think it was a heartwarming story about every creature's a creature. Because I've even seen people I saw a story years ago where some lady raised a praying mantis or like a bug or a grasshopper. It's like the grasshopper had a personality. So when you think about killing bugs and even creatures like mice and stuff, you got to think it's like they're creatures too. And like, yes, society might view them as pests and rodents, but if you actually raise them, because it's all about nature and nurture, if you raise that mouse in a normal environment, but somebody made a joke, they're like, yeah, keep that mouse away from cats. Cause also I was thinking about I got anxiety. I'm like, if this guy brings his little pet mouse out and there's a cat there, the cat's liable to just eat that mouse. So I thought that was an interesting story. And another thing that's, I don't know if I talked about this a ton, but I think Wordle's a crazy game. New York Times game Wordle. I've solved Wordle in one guess 3 times. The first time I did it, I was like in shock. I just started lighting up green, like green one, green two, green three, green four, green five, because Wordle's a 5-letter. Basically, if anyone doesn't play Wordle, it's a 5-letter. It's a 5-letter word. You got to guess the word, and they tell you when you get a letter right, if it's in the right place, and they tell you if you get a letter wrong. I don't want to explain the words of Wordle. It's kind of boring, but anyway, I've gotten it right in 3 times in the first try. The first time the word was light, Light. The second time the word was grout, Grout. The third time the word was light. Well, no, the first time was light. Second one was grout. The third time the word was alive, Liive, alive. So I've gotten it right in 3 times, and I always think it's like there's got to be more to this because I don't play I don't use the same word every time. I use a different word every time. Whatever word comes to my mind, I use. So I've gotten it right 3 times in one try. And I've always thought that's pretty, the human mind hasn't really been studied. It's like, wow, it's like, is it just dumb luck? And if I get it right in one try once, it's like, okay, that was cool. But having it happen 3 times is pretty insane. So I think it's pretty cool. It makes me think about the human brain and like psychic abilities and stuff. But I had some recent, I got it in 2 times recently, a couple times. But it was interesting. It just to kind of like I was watching the news and they were talking about the kid who tried to shoot Trump or shot Trump, shot him in the ear. And I guessed on Wordle, I guessed drone because I was thinking I was like, why don't they use a drone? Like, why can't they? All you need is a drone to navigate, and you could see anybody who's on the roof. They should have just used it. Was there any drones flying? It just got me thinking. So I guessed drone, and I got it wrong. And the next word I guessed without really thinking was nerdy, Nerdy. I guessed nerdy and I got it right. So I got it. It was crazy. It was like this. That's what makes me think about Wordle. There's some sort of weird bandwidth or wavelength. And it's like I was watching the news and just the drone and I got it right. And nerdy was the second was the word. And then a couple days later I did it, and I guess viral, VIRAL, and I got 0 letters from that. But then without thinking, I guessed the word spec, SPEC. and I got all 5 letters are right. So in this instance, it was like almost getting it right in one try. I don't know if this is kind of, I'm going to hear plenty of feedback from how I did the show by myself because the only episode I've done by myself is Israel. But, I'm still doing the show. I haven't found another co-host yet. And, you know, I got some topics to talk about, but I don't describe in a word. It might sound kind of boring. So now I realize that as I'm talking. But I also wanted to say about that shooting. Um, Corey Comparator is a hero. He shielded his family from a bullet, and unfortunately, he died. But he was a fireman. He was a family guy, and I just want to, recognize that that guy's a hero. Um, Another thing that happened in the news recently was there was a whole airline outage. All the computer systems with the airlines like went out. There's a computer outage, um, and um, and most of the airlines, like people were stranded at the airline. The airlines were freaking out. They didn't know what to do, and that scares me about this technology and the hacking. Any hacker can try to mess up a whole worldwide infrastructure computer system. But the funny part about the whole thing is Southwest Airlines always gets a lot of crap for being like a crappy airline. And Southwest Airlines didn't have any issue during this outage because they're using such outdated systems. They're not using the other systems that the other modern, I guess I don't want to say modern airlines, the other ones like Delta and American, are using. Because Spirit Airlines and Southwest Airlines get shit on. Those are like the two airlines they really get shit on. I've flown them before. I've even flown Frontier. You know what I mean? I usually go for the cheap, to be honest with you, I usually go for the cheapest flight, but I thought it was kind of funny how Southwest throughout this whole airline outage, Southwest like survived the outage. Um, and then I want to say something that's kind of funny, but kind of disgusting too. Um, when you walk in a bathroom, sometimes you're like a public bathroom and stuff, you might smell the smell of shit and it might be disgusting, but there's a certain level of knowing that you're going to walk into a bathroom and smell shit when you walk in. But there's nothing like when you're out in public and somebody out of nowhere like farts and it just stinks up the whole room. I was at the gym and I was near the free weights rack doing the dumbbells and somebody farted and walked away. And the combination of being in a hot gym and sweat in the air, that fart smelled absolutely fucking terrible. And it was disgusting. I wanted to gag. I almost threw up. But it's got me thinking, it was like when people fart in public, like say you're in a car with somebody, it smells so much worse than just walking in a public restroom because the expectation is not, you weren't expecting to smell that fart. And all of a sudden you have to smell the inside of someone's body. It really is disgusting. So that's, I was in the gym and this happened literally yesterday. It was disgusting, but then I saw USA basketball. They're gearing up for the Olympics, and they played South Sudan. And I think South Sudan is like ranked 33rd in the world. Like they're not expected to do anything in the Olympics. But USA was down 14 at halftime, I believe, and it took a LeBron James miracle layup with about a couple seconds to go to win the game. They won the game by 1 point, but it's not good when the USA basketball, like I think they have a strong team. I mean, they have like the guys who should be on the team. I mean, I know Jaylen Brown maybe should have made it, but um, it's one of those things where you can't be almost losing to South Sudan. I know it's an exhibition and you're trying some things out, but I don't know. It's one of those things. I tweeted about it and someone replied to my tweet, my Twitter account, Sean Matthew 13. And someone replied, he's like, well, that's because Steve Kerr is coaching, and that's because LeBron James is 40 years old. And I disagree. I mean, I think LeBron James is still better than most players in the world. He's still a top 10 player. He's still that good. And he actually won the game. So I disagree. But I also think Steve Kerr is a great coach. So I kind of disagree, but I can see how but almost losing to South Sudan is not good. But yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Howard Stern show is off for the summer. I'm a diehard Howard Stern supporter. I talked about one of my episodes how I called and talked about that festival I went to and everything like that. And I love the show. I love Howard Stern, but he's off for the summer. So I got to deal with him not being on the radio. So I usually listen to the show 3 times a week, but I love Baba Booey, the producer of the show. And he's on a show for the summer on Sirius Radio called Summer School. And, it's a good show. I mean, I like hearing Gary Delabate, Baba Booey talk. They have some guests on. So I've been enjoying that. So I recommend that show. If you have Sirius Radio, Summer School with Gary Delabate, Baba Booey. Then I'm getting ready for football season two. And I talked about on the show how I'm an Eagles fan now. I'm a former Cowboys fan. Now I'm an Eagles fan. I know, don't get mad at me. I mean, I switched teams because I live in the Philadelphia area. I went to Villanova. I lost passion for the Cowboys. I have no connection to Texas. I talked about it a lot. I'm an Eagles fan now, and I'm excited for the season. But I'm excited, we got Saquon Barkley. Um, but it's funny. Giants are the show Hard Knocks. The Giants are featured on Hard Knocks, and it's funny how like he was their best player on the team, and they didn't even make him a qualifying offer. The Eagles just pretty much made a good offer, and he signed with the Eagles. The Giants never made an offer, so that's kind of interesting. Um, but yeah, I'm just happy I'm still doing the show. I'm glad everyone's listening. Um, and you know, I didn't know how long tonight's episode was going to be. Um, and I think Joe did a good job on the show, and he left the show voluntarily. We had some disagreements and just lifestyle things. But I'm glad everyone's listening. This is Zero Front. The show is going to continue to be around, and probably going to have some guests on. I'm going to try to get some people on the show. And thanks everyone for listening. Have a good night.